Hi friends! Today we're going to start our last chapter in math on picture graphs. Picture graphs are an excellent way to take a whole bunch of information and organize it in one location with visuals. It's fantastic. All right, let's get going. So, there's some key things that you need to know about a picture graph. First of all, here's an example of a picture graph on the page in front of you. This is about different kinds of balls maybe find on the playground. So the first thing you're going to look at is the title of the picture graph. This says kinds of balls. The second thing you're going to look at is the key. Now this is really important because the key shows what each picture or symbol in the picture graph stands for. So instead of writing the number of soccer balls, for example, in a picture graph, you're going to have a picture or a symbol that represents that number. So here's our thinking. In this picture graph, one blue circle stands for one ball. So you can read this picture graph by counting the pictures. So let's take a look at the baseballs, for example. We can tell by this picture graph that there are 4 different kinds of balls we're working with, we're learning about, and how many baseballs are there. Because there is one blue circle and the key says that each blue circle stands for one ball, that is our scale. We have a 1-to-1 scale. So for each blue circle, we have one baseball. And this picture will show us that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 blue circles, which means we have 4 baseballs. We can do the same with each of the other kinds in this picture. We can count the blue circles and that will equal the number of balls that we have. In this basketball picture, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blue circles. Because we have a 1-to-1 scale, we have 8 basketballs. Now, that can change on different kinds of different graphs with different keys. So this is the same picture graph, but they have changed the key. We're still talking about, according to our title, we can see we're still talking about the kinds of balls. But now each blue circle represents 2 balls. So our scale is 1 blue circle equals 2 balls. So that scale is a 1-to-2 ratio. So let's count how many baseballs we have. Since there's 2 blue circles and each blue circle stands for 2 balls, we can count by 2s. We can skip count. 2, 4, or we can use a multiplication problem for this. We know that we have 2 balls and each ball, we have 2 blue circles and each blue circle stands for 2 balls. So we have 4 baseballs in this picture. Let's take a look at the rubber balls. Let's do another one. In this picture, we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue circles. For each blue circle, we have 2 balls, which tells us we have 5 times 10 is 10 rubber balls. I can do repeated addition or skip counting to figure that out if we're still working on our multiplication packs. We can keep doing this with each one of the balls in the picture. All right, now lots of different things can be figured out by using this picture graph for information. For example, we can count also the number of balls that we have together, and there's a couple of different ways to do that. Since we're multiplying, we can either figure out how many soccer balls we have and then how many basketballs, or we can take all of those circles, add them all together, and multiply them by 2. There's the 2 different ways to get how many balls we have all together between soccer balls and basketballs. Let me show you what that looks like. So there's 2 ways. We can count the number of soccer balls. Since we know each blue circle stands for 2, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 blue circles. Each are worth 2. That means I have 12, I have 12 soccer balls. For the basketballs, I have 4 blue circles. Each are worth 2, which means I have 8 basketballs. So if I want to find out how many I have altogether, I can take the number of soccer balls plus the number of basketballs equals 20 balls altogether. So that's one way of figuring out the total amount of a certain number on the graph. The other way is to take the total number of blue circles we see, and we saw that there were 6 blue circles for soccer balls. We saw that there were 4 basketballs, which gives us 10 of the blue circles altogether. 10 blue circles, and each circle represents 2. 10 groups of 2 equals 20. So we can tell, doing 2 different methods, how to figure out how many balls we have altogether. One other thing I'd like to show you before I show you your work for today is I'm going to ask you this. If I wanted to have the same amount of rubber balls and baseballs, I would need to add to my picture, as I want the same amount. So I can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue circles in this graph. So I want 5 circles here as well. We want the same amount of rubber balls and baseballs. Picture isn't great, but you got the idea. Okay, so I had to add 1, 2, 3 rubber balls, baseballs to equal the amount of rubber balls. So let's do a math equation for that. I added 3 symbols, 3 balls to my picture. Each ball is worth 2. So if I wanted to buy more baseballs to equal the amount of rubber balls, I would have to buy 6 more baseballs in order to equal the amount of rubber balls. Even though I only drew 3 blue, or in this case, I used red to show you the difference. Even though I added 3 more circles to our picture, we have to remember that those circles represent 2 balls. I would have to add 3 circles to represent buying 6 more balls. Okay, your homework for today will be interpreting some data for some pictures, for some picture graphs. You're going to start on page 179 and it's going to go through 182. You are going to be using the Math and Focus Volume 2B. So make sure you're using that textbook or that workbook when you're looking for your homework. Remember to be careful to read your titles first so you know what kind of information you're dealing with. And the next most important thing, make sure you're understanding what the key is telling you. So for example, in our first page of our workbook, they set up an example page for you. Each of these trays stands for 2 helpings of food. So if I'm looking at my apples here on this picture graph, I see 2 styrofoam trays. So each one of those trays is going to equal 2 helpings of food. So if I'm going to do a math question, a math sentence for that, we have 2 trays of food. Each tray equals 2 helpings. I would have 4 helpings of apples according to this picture graph. You're going to use this information to answer questions as you go through. Okay, that's all for today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye-bye.